It might be hard to believe, but decades ago, economics was a successful field. They succeeded both theoretically and practically, leading to a golden era for the profession. But there were still some faults. On the theoretical side, economists thought they had it all together, until occurrences in the real world proved otherwise. So what really happened to the economics profession? Before we begin, please remember to like and subscribe to stay up to date with the latest videos. From all indications, the profession went astray because, well, they mistook beauty and clad in impressive-looking mathematics as professionalism. For instance, until the Great Depression, most economists argued that capitalism was a perfect system. But in the face of mass unemployment, the truth got clear. And so, it is rather surprising that as memories of the Depression faded, economists fell back in love with the old ideology of an economy in which rational individuals interact in perfect markets. And as always, their claims are spiced up with fancy equations. These days, economic theories hardly go unopposed because of the many faults that have been found with them. These questionable theories are partly a response to political wins and partly a response to financial incentives. In all, the central cause of the profession's failure is the desire for an intellectual and elegant approach that has given economists a chance to show off their mathematical skills. In this video, we will be looking at some of the top economic theories that have proven to be lies. Over the years, induced demand and economies of scale have been used to justify everything, from city planning to business growth to applying policies. But it has been discovered that while these theories look good in black and white, people live in real life with colors. Induced demand. This is the government's favorite excuse for doing nothing about the state of the roads. Homer Simpson once said that trying is the first step toward failure. That, in fact, is the summary of the attitude of state transportation planners towards road construction using the theory of induced demand. Induced demand theory says the more the supply or availability of a product, the more the demand. It was a widely accepted theory until people began to question its validity. Recently, Elon Musk, CEO and chief engineer of SpaceX and Tesla, called it one of the most irrational theories he has ever heard. Transit advocates apply the theory to road construction to suggest that building more lanes will cause people to drive more, filling up any new capacity, thereby making traffic congestion worse than before. However, they fail to apply this theory consistently, because if induced demand is an excuse to stop highway expansion, then it would also make sense that more hospitals should not be built, because they would get filled up with sick people. It is very surprising that economists apply this theory to road construction when only a few years ago they disagreed with Rick Perry for accepting a similar theory in relation to the coal industry. Economists explained that Perry's suggestion that an increase in supply would propel increased demand was wrong because, well, suppliers don't control demand, they control supply. So, why the sudden change of mind, you may wonder? The belief in induced demand stemmed from an academic study from 2011 that claimed vehicle miles of travel on urban interstates increases proportionally to highway capacity and that highway supply creates its own demand. Without looking at it critically, you can tell that there are several limitations to this study and the theory in general. First, the theory treats all roads as a large blob, without separating parallel arterials from other roadways. As a result, the theorists did not consider how much drivers shifted their trips from parallel arterials to a newly expanded interstate, which would not represent new driving, but simply a reallocation of existing driving. Second, the study assumes that all freeways have a natural level of saturation. This implies that all roads would fill up to the point of serious peak period congestion. But in reality, congestion levels vary. Therefore, the relationship between capacity expansion and congestion increase is not a decisive one ratio. One of the problems of the induced demand theory is that it assumes continuous congestion everywhere, which you can see for yourself is not true by looking at traffic at 2 a.m. Since economics considers people as rational beings, then they should understand that people make trips when they have places to be at. And because these trips cost time and money, a more open road is not an excuse for people to make unnecessary trips. Also, people choose a transportation mode when it serves their travel needs and reflects their values. For example, when I choose to drive because I need to get to work and meetings, it is because I value my time, personal safety, flexibility, and autonomy. I will take whatever transportation mode accommodates those values and gets me where I need to go. Thirdly, while economists bank on speculations, real-life situations have proven that increases in freeway capacity leads to a relief in traffic. Take a Texas A&M Transportation Institute, for example. A mobility report from 2012 shows that 17 cities that kept capacity growth to within 10% of VMT growth had experienced decreased congestion since 1997. From the report, urban areas where capacity increases matched the demand increase saw congestion grow much more slowly than regions where capacity lagged behind demand growth. Unfortunately, the Washington State Department of Transportation has given up on providing traffic relief, as the agency's leader has declared and justified on the basis of induced demand theory that traffic congestion is a problem we simply cannot solve. Now, even if induced demand were real, does the conclusion of the anti-highway folks apply? The answer is no. When roadway capacity is artificially restricted as it has been for years, any road added to the system will likely be filled with existing drivers shifting from different travel times or arterials or other modes. These drivers represent existing demand that is not being accommodated by the state's Department of Transportation. Arguing that building those roads was meaningless is similar to arguing that feeding a starving person didn't make a difference because they will eventually go hungry again after only a few hours. The role of infrastructure providers is to provide the vital facilities that people are willing to pay for, not tell them that their preferences are wrong. Also, the Department of Transportation should be redirected to fulfill its proper role in building and maintaining the state's critical road network. Another economic theory that has deceived us for the longest time is economies of scale. Economies of scale are cost advantages reaped by companies when production becomes efficient. Companies achieve economies of scale by increasing production and lowering costs because costs are spread over a larger number of goods. In simpler terms, it is an increase in the magnitude of goods produced where the average cost of production decreases. In other words, the price to make an additional product unit reduces as the company grows. From what we were told, a business gains cost benefits by scaling up production because the fixed cost incurred over increased production units gets distributed. But this proposition has its limitations. Interestingly, an increase in economies of scale is the biggest limitation of this theory. It has been discovered that in a market where economies of scale increases, fewer or no firms can survive regardless of how much is produced. The main concern with increasing economies of scale is that market forces will lead to monopoly production, such that the business who is able to outscale others takes over the market. When this happens, it begins to charge any price that favors it. This invariably leads to a suboptimal level of production and consumption. In addition, increasing economies of scale may push all producers out of a market if none can charge enough to cover costs. In that case, production ceases, even if it benefits society. Hence, markets fail under increasing economies of scale. Also, economies of scale has a limited impact on people working in a knowledge-based service organization. Research shows that knowledge-based organizations involved in service delivery are in a broad sense not motivated by the same criteria as in a manufacturing firm. Trying to imitate these manufacturing firms can lead to an increase in failure demand and a resultant increase in total costs to service organizations. The economy of scale theory is based on a manufacturing context where the key challenge is to produce outputs at the rate of customer demand. In service provision, the challenge is to design a system that absorbs the customer's demand for variety. This difference accounts for the different methods that should be used to gain cost benefits. That's it. Top truths economists would never tell you. If you want to discover more, do subscribe to this channel. Also, please like this video if you haven't. You know we love to hear from you. See you in the comments.